Tonight we're driving my 2023 Chevrolet Camaro SS1LE in the snow. We have a fresh set of Michelin Pilot Alpin PA4 winter tires. The idea with this tire was to still maintain the performance of this car in the dry and the wet, but also give it some capability in the wintertime when we have snow on the ground. Honestly, these days in Michigan, 95% of my driving is done in the dry, with maybe a little bit of wet pavement. And this is a performance winter tire that can handle a little bit better than a dedicated snow tire like a Blizzak or something in the wet and the dry, but it can still hold its own in the snow. So tonight will be a first test of that. These are on small 18-inch wheels. So we have a 245/50 R18-inch tire. Only reason I didn't go with a PA5 is just sizing wasn't available for this size that I wanted. I wanted a lot of sidewall, and I wanted to fit a smaller 18-inch wheel on the SS1LE. Bit of a challenge with the brakes, but I found these on Marketplace, and they seem to fit great. They ride well. The tire is quiet. We'll see how traction is in the snow tonight. Not a lot of accumulation yet. It is going to get deeper as the night goes on and into tomorrow morning, but by then the roads will probably be plowed. We'll be getting some more snow this weekend, so I'll report back if we get some deeper stuff. But for now, we've got just a light dusting on the roads. It's about 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's see how the Camaro SS1LE does. We'll start off. Let's turn traction control off so we have a bit of an idea of available grip. Tonight, our exhaust is in stealth mode, because I am all about the silent hoon on these night drives. So far, they feel pretty good. Initial turn in is pretty nice and sharp. Breakaway, nice and progressive. I'm actually going to go into snow and ice mode, so I have just a little bit more throttle resolution here. Braking performance feels good. This Camaro SS1LE slides so beautifully. It'd be a shame not to drive this thing in the winter. What about braking performance? That's actually surprising. That's quite good. About with traction on. I think the traction system here is going to be pretty good for winter driving. Yeah, that's impressive. Lets you bounce just on the edge. tire pressures. We should be at about 32, 33 in the rear and a little bit higher in the front. Yep, 32, 33 in the front, 31 in the rear. It's a little bit colder tonight. Oil's up to temp. Oh, this is a fun winter vehicle. You guys might remember last year we drove the CT5V Blackwing, and that was on a set of performance winter tires, but it was pretty useless to drive in the snow. It really didn't work very well. This SS1LE on these PA4s is a bit more capable. Let's see, let's go into night driving mode here. We'll really dim everything down so it's nice and dark. You can actually dim this so low that the infotainment screen turns off. It gets really nice and dark so you can see around you really well. This 1LE just is such a sweetheart to drive. It does make driving pretty easy in the snow, having a dedicated winter tire. Alright, we're going to turn traction control back on here. Wait for the semi-truck to pass us. And we're in business. Alright, so on the highway, unplowed right now. We've got some ruts. Let's do a lane change. See how it evacuates slush. Again, things aren't super deep right now, but that will change as the conditions progress overnight. So far, pretty good confidence in the snow on these PA4s. They're actually performing a little bit better out here than I thought they would, being a performance winter tire. Again, this being such a high horsepower vehicle, I really wanted a tire that could put its power down in the dry, and they actually do pretty well in the wet. You have to work to get this car sideways on these PA4s. And I think they have just enough grip in the snow to give me enough confidence to go out and drive around without really worrying too much about what's going on. All right, so how's the Camaro SS1LE to drive at night? Well, it's actually pretty decent. I made a comment in one of my videos that the headlights in this kind of suck, and you know what? I was mistaken. They were just dirty, and I couldn't see a thing. So once they're cleaned, you can see pretty well. Brights work nicely. And I love that you can dim all the gauges, the screen, everything in this, and that helps a lot with nighttime visibility. Look at that grip around that entrance ramp. That's pretty amazing. The traction control is really helpful in snow and ice mode. Yeah, this is a good winter tire. I am very impressed so far with what this is able to do, considering that it doesn't really sacrifice anything in terms of dry and wet handling. That's honestly my biggest complaint about most winter tires that I drive on, especially in sports cars. Even the Michelin X-Ice can be a little bit sketchy in the wet. I think it has ultimately superior snow and ice performance, this PA4, but you really need to choose your tire according to what conditions you drive in most of the time. And for me, in Michigan right now, this is kind of that perfect blend of performance in the conditions that I need it. Especially in a car with this much power. Sometimes in the wet, a tire like this can really, really save you. All right, let's see if we can pass some of the slower traffic here. We're in 5th gear, hitting some ruts. Everything's feeling pretty good out here. This Camaro SS does have a bit of weight to it, so it does seem to do pretty well plowing through some of the deeper stuff. And this is a narrower tire. It's not super wide, so it's not going to cause a lot of resistance, rolling resistance going through deeper snow. That said, the Camaro SS1LE would not be my first choice as a car to drive in the winter. It doesn't quite have the ground clearance. It is fun, it is entertaining, but it's also a little bit sketchy. And you have to understand that. I think ultimately, the biggest difference that I'm noticing between this, the S2000 on the Michelin X-Ice tires, is that the X-Ice just has a bit more forward traction. And that could partially just be the car itself. The S2000 has a little bit more of a rear weight bias, so that could help with adding a bit more traction into the equation. But ultimately, that is a more snow and ice oriented winter tire. This, though, lateral traction seems to be pretty good. Braking is quite good. And, you just need to be aware of your conditions when you're trying to drive this around. Okay, these are some initial driving impressions. Haven't driven these on ice yet. Haven't driven them through deep snow just because we haven't had that much accumulation here in Michigan. I also think these tires will perform pretty well in our tarmac rallycross events, at least in the wintertime. They'll outperform dedicated winter tires in the dry and the wet, but if there is a little bit of snow left over on the course, they'll be able to handle it. That was one deciding factor in getting these tires to test for Michelin. No handbrake. That's a bit of a bummer here. I do miss that in the S2000 and the BRZ. I don't think the electronic parking brake does anything in this Camaro. What a great formula, though. Rear-wheel drive, limited slip diff, a longish wheelbase, good steering feel, more power than you could possibly know what to do with in the snow. Such great control here. I particularly like the Camaro as a rear-wheel drive winter vehicle just because it has so many comforts and amenities. It has a heated steering wheel that heats up immediately. The HVAC in here gets warm, it gets up to temp by the time I'm at the end of my block, leaving the neighborhood. It's a comfortable vehicle to use and live with on a daily basis. And it's very entertaining. The snow and ice mode is so nice. The throttle control you have is fantastic. I mean, having all this power can be hard work in the snow. In sport mode, track mode is pretty linear throttle tuning, but even tour can get a little bit out of hand sometimes. But the throttle tuning is just so dulled down in this snow and ice mode that it's really, really easy to control what the rear end is doing. It's clever stuff from GM Performance. They really do know what they're doing with these cars. There's just tons of steering lock here too. Alright, well, you guys get the idea. A little bit of fun tonight in the SS1LE. We'll see how it does in the deeper stuff at some point. But until then, that was a pretty fun drive. right, that's gonna be a wrap for this one. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.